I like this book report format we have.
Cool.
Not to shop talk, but
Yeah.
I like it in that we can each bring something to the table that we're fascinated about, just to share with you two other boyos. Because, good lord, nobody at Asian One across the table wants to hear about what I'm going to talk about tonight. Because this is History Channel dad shit.
I've never been bored in any of our episodes, and there's content that I wouldn't seek out on my own.
Regardless,
Absolutely.
I want to start this episode. This boat kills empires.
Mm-hmm.
What's the farthest you've both gone for a friend? Because I have trouble thinking about it. I've stood up for friends. I've helped friends in times of needs. I've given friends rides when friends have needed rides. What's the furthest you think you've gone for somebody you care about? Like, distance-wise.
In realistic distance-wise?
Yeah.
A couple times, I one day drove from up here down to San Francisco to hang out with Blake for like a weekend or something like that. Just to drive
for a
by.
Weekend.
Yeah. Several times over our relationship when he lived down there. I think that distance-wise, that's something that I've done, yeah.
And you don't think about it because it's somebody you care about.
Absolutely.
But at the
Same
same
here.
time,
The reward is it's beyond the financial
you don't
deficit.
think about it until after you get back home and you're like, wow, I drove the fuck down to San Francisco for a weekend.
Yeah.
Sort of a deal.
I spent a week in Chicago with my brother. I flew out there with a bunch of shit that he needed for his apartment that he still hadn't had because he was a broke college student at the University of Chicago. He had also moved into one of the most like clapped out slumlord ass apartments with like literal there was a mushroom growing from the ceiling of their apartment.
Free mushrooms, let's go.
And so
bad boys up.
sort of as an agreement, I, as the youngest buck of the Roberts family that wasn't my younger brother, flew out to Chicago with all the things that he needed and to potentially be an intimidator, if necessary, with his landlord about fixing...
The muscle.
So you're willing to be a familial goon in a way. You know? I'll be the big guy that you know.
But yeah, I think that's
going
the
a lot.
furthest I've traveled to do a solid.
This story about this boat takes it further than anyone who designed it expected it would go. Takes it further than any of the people aboard it could have been asked to go.
Okay.
But before we get into this story,
Our setup slide.
this is welcome
Exposition time.
Welcome to my titles. We gotta jump only 10 years back. This time, I'm not taking you through a
The year's
400.
1985.
If
We're in a
if
mall.
I took you through a 200-year history, we would be here until 4 in the fucking
Okay.
morning.
Wait.
But
When you say 10 years back, you don't mean 2013, right?
no, I'm
Okay.
taking you 10 years back from the story I'm trying to tell to the first Sino-Japanese War.
Oh, so listener, I was listening facetiously. I live here. I've seen some of these slides.
Yeah, I can't help it. My workplace is out in the open. So the first Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895 is something that I feel like is
It's a pretty short war.
It's a lot of wars back then only last a year or two. It's only your Napoleonic conquests that last multiple years and have millions of men die of hunger and everything because it's lasting multiple fucking years.
Well, that was at the beginning of that century.
Oh yeah.
What are the Napoleonic Wars?
This is the end of the century.
And a lot changed in that particular century.
Yes. The first Sino-Japanese War is a complicated bramble that I'm only going to touch on. Please, by all means, I'm only giving my fucking Wikipedia knowledge of this bullshit.
Okay. The Wikipedia warning has been put out there.
Please, if you're taking this podcast as any information, stop, don't, do your own.
If I may be a stand-in for the listening audience and ask a stupid question, what is the Sino half of Sino-Japanese War?
Oh, that's considered China.
Oh,
as well as Chinese provinces of, say, your Tibet. That of course includes your Mongolia at this time in
Sure.
1894. That includes also Manchuria, which is what I think of as the armpit between a Korea and China.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very rugged piece of land that is kind of fought over culturally, of course, for hundreds of years before this. But we gotta laser focus in, because I have a story here that happens
Absolutely.
10 years after this that's worth telling.
Oh, we in the 1900s.
1904. A time on the move.
So we gotta talk about the First Sino-Japanese War. This war is kicked off by this Korean national. In essence,
It's a dope hat.
Kim Uk-an.
Wait. Hold on before we gloss over.
Not related.
Okay, thank God. Okay.
As far as I know, in my research, not related.
He's not the unicorn riding predecessor to Kim Jong Un.
No,
Okay,
he's not.
Okay, my apologies for derailing so quickly.
Kim Uk-an, obviously. I mean, you would hope with the name like Kim, like maybe something. He's a radical in Korea.
Okay.
Now, Korea at this time is under Chinese influence.
Okay.
There is a harsh anti-Japanese sentiment in Korea in this 1894-1895 time period. But before that, Kim Ok-kun basically flees to Japan because he's a revolutionary that's wanted in Korea.
Okay.
Shanghai, basically, people from Shanghai, Chinese people who are sympathetic and want to keep Korea non-Japanese, basically find a way to lure this Japanese revolutionary, or this Korean revolutionary from Japan.
To China.
So
they did better agitprop than Japan could.
Well, they kind of went like the whole like, hey, maybe we'll prop you back up as some sort of Korean revolutionary. You'll change things. You'll revolutionize things.
Yada, yada, yada. Those posters with your face on them.
Japanese schmutz action, So they lure him back to China. He's immediately murdered by a Korean national. And in China, his dismembered body and the Korean national who responsible for killing him, the murderer, flee in the middle of the night to Korea to be paraded and celebrated as like
really.
It's almost like an Edward Snowden kind of situation. Like,
okay. Yeah, I feel like this dude got fucked because he he went from Korea being like, hey, maybe the Chinese shouldn't have so much influence over us. Maybe I'll go to Japan, and probably went to Japan and was met with a bunch of anti-Korean jingoism.
Absolutely.
Which is why any sort of Chinese agitprop lured him into China. Was he went to Japan and realized they really hate Koreans here?
Well, they went like, hey, we'll listen to you, but our best course of action is just exiling you on some islands away from Japan, sort of a deal. Like, you're too hot of a potato to touch. Like, we're just gonna put you away real quick. So this whole bullshit really angers the Japanese.
You killed the guy that we hated that was here.
Well, like, hey, we wanted to start a revolution in Japan. It's sort of how it goes. And this guy
You mean in Korea?
Well, yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
A lot of Asian countries at play here. We're juggling a lot of Asian countries right now.
I'm so sorry.
When does Vietnam get involved?
Soon.
Thousands of years of conflict between these three nations that are so close to each other.
You sort of have a Korean that wants reform. The bleeding heartness of it all comes off on some Japanese politicians, and they go like, well, we should go to war for China because they allowed this guy to be killed. And obviously these people want to be free. They want to... Korea wants to be independent from China.
We're bringing democracy to Korea.
Yeah.
I've heard this one before.
I know. It's like George Bush 2003.
It's like a drum or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Sino-Japanese War is basically a war between Chinese forces, Korean forces on either side because... one, their land is being fought over, but at the same time, Some are sympathetic with the Chinese way that things have been going, and some want to break free. And, well, if your only options are, like, forming your own faction of 5 guys or joining the Japanese, you join the Japanese that are coming in to kind of invade.
I mean, your map kind of tells us the whole story of it. These poor Korean people are fucked, being in the middle ground of two on the rise imperial countries.
In different ways as well. You have your China being influenced by Western, like allowing Western colonial influence to take a foothold, where Japan was very hands-off about that, and we're going to modernize but not Westernize.
Yeah.
And that creates a massive cultural conflict that American brain me has no, like, frame of reference for. So we have this whole ongoing thing. Not only is Japan putting land troops in Korea, but they're putting it in Manchuria, which is this area
Northern China.
here, northern China. The northernmost eastern part of China would be the way to think of it.
Bordering with Russia.
Bordering with your Korean state that had its own queen at the time. Like, China was not running things great, but they were installing, okay, here's a national-born Chinese, like, Korean queen for this area. Your Sino-Japanese War ends with your Queen of Korea being assassinated. Japan, total victory in this Accords. They get Taiwan.
Big dubs.
Big dubs. They get Taiwan out of the deal.
Oh,
they
shit.
get Korea to effectively declare independence from China. They are not part, in heavy quotations, of Japan yet, nor will they be until 1910. But it's effectively, Japan is now building naval bases, ports, all these things.
Well, mission accomplished, baby. Land that F-16 on an
Oh,
aircraft.
absolutely.
We brought democracy to Korea. Congratulations.
Of course, we're glossing over wars because a lot of things are just sort of,
complicated?
10,000, yes, very complicated, and we have a lot of ground to cover tonight. Regardless, very soon after, only 4 years after this conflict, whereas Japan
This
has
is a
effectively...
dope picture.
Yes, this is. I got so excited when I saw this because I was like, oh man, whoever painted this is probably dead by now.
That's a bunch of Americans doing what we do best, bringing democracy to a region of the earth that didn't ask for it.
China is not necessarily stable. As we can see in our past picture, a lot of the conflict is focused around Manchuria, and as we can see, even being the armpit, there is a tiny Korea in that armpit.
Yeah.
Little star.
A place that's heavily mountainous, easily defendable if you own it.
Wait, that's
Large
Korea?
port.
I thought Korea was the part that's in
No, Korea
orange and
is the big
yellow
part.
stripes.
This is Port Arthur and this Manchurian peninsula that extends up.
Port Arthur doesn't sound very Chinese to me.
No, it doesn't.
That's fucking great.
No. Of course it has original name, but it became...
It sounds like...
You tell me white people were fucking around here?
White people are fucking around is what causes the Boxer Rebellion. Because China is already worried about the Sino-Japanese War. And they also go like...
Oh, we gotta mind our nose in that business.
Understandably, your old enemy that you've been fighting for thousands of years. At this point.
you have your Asian on Asian racism, jingoistic things, but you also have your European colonial aspect, which brings about the Boxer Rebellion, which is mostly in Shanghai, or your good old Beijing.
The capital of China.
I'm sorry, Beijing, capital of China. You have a large uprising of what are called boxers. I don't know if you all took a high school history class.
I did take world history.
Everyone kind of has a brief overview of this, I believe.
This tickles something in my brain, but I just don't know. I'm ignorant of the overall. I know there was Western influence, Christianity.
There
was a breaking off.
There was a revolution that basically went, in essence, like, we're going to be violent towards one colonial powers who own, like, your Hong Kong in Britain, your Canton Bay, your France. You have German towns even as north as Beijing in Britain towns. Like, you have this large northern Chinese uprising against Western imperialism and Western religion.
God bless them.
The Western imperialism part, I don't feel like any of the 8 nations that would have signed up would have shown up for. But the religion part is one of those things where in this era, in this early, like, 1900s era, you kind of have an aspect of your France is going to show up because you're killing Christians. You're killing You're not just killing Christians. You're killing French Christians.
If I may, imperialism tends to follow the missionaries.
Oh, of course.
People hear about a new region. We need to introduce them to the good word, and then all of a sudden, usually within a few decades, there's people with guns that have arrived to reinforce that message.
This is the rubber band reaching the breaking point, in a sense, for China at this time, because your Canton Bay and your Hong Kong have been around at this point for about 60, 70 years. And you've had numerous civil wars, anti-European powers, get them the fuck out, we're burning down a Christian church, sort of bullshit. So your Boxer Rebellion is the world in 1900, Zach, doing a coalition of the willing, like a 2003 George Bush.
1,000 points.
Whoever wants to join up with us, and it's America. It's Austria-Hungary, it's France, it's Great Britain, it's Japan, for Christ's sakes, the people that these people fought a war against.
A country that's less than 1% Christian at this point.
Yes, they're joining in the fight because they want to sit at the big boys' table. You end with basically a major conflict that engulfs northern China. As you can see, you have a large area around Beijing that is occupied by the 8-Nation Alliance, which is all these people, which, for the reason why we have an American flag and American good old boys hot off the Spanish-American War. Just like, let's burn down some shit. Let's fire our guns. We're thousands of miles away. This is 14 years before World War I.
We were pretty good about that at this point in time.
Oh, yeah. We weren't getting involved in a lot of things other than Spanish-American War.
We were sort of a testosterone-fueled adolescent boy who has developed some muscles and a mustache, and we were kind of seeing like who we could pick shit with at the time. As a country.
And when you and your 7 other buddies go like, we just need to control the capital of this country of non-white, non-Christian people. Why not? It's the easiest fucking thing in the world.
Simple as that.
Simple as
our Australian counterparts would say.
See, please.
So what ends up happening is Boxer Rebellion eventually gets quelled. The official Chinese government near the end of it switches sides to the Boxers.
They do the fucking 1980, 1984 thing.
And mind you, they're called Boxers because we called it Chinese boxing at the time. So give this in your
Wait,
time.
gunfights was known as Chinese boxing?
Well, like Shaolin Kung Fu, karate was all known as Chinese boxing. So if you give this a little bit more culture to stew around in and like Western acceptance.
So now
this is called the Karate Wars and is instantly remembered, but instead it's the Boxer Rebellion.
I guess if you were to name this in 2023, this would be the MMA Wars.
Yeah. Yes. And that's purely from your Western racism in that sense, where it's just like, well, everybody knows kung fu.
Everybody knows
Everybody
martial
knows
art over
Chinese boxing over there. They don't even need a gun to hurt
They're out there
you.
doing some Chinese boxing.
Yeah.
They got the blood of the dragon in them.
So what happens from this this whole event leading from Sino-Japanese War onto this?
Yes.
Mind you, the first Sino-Japanese War.
The
second Sino-Japanese War is Japan's conquest of
We're still
China
waiting for that movie to be
in
made.
World War II.
Oh, well, not officially in World War II.
Not officially, but kind of kicked off and is its own war.
We
in a
weren't
way.
there. We were just interested. It's
Poking
the
bears.
American mantra of the time.
Oh, but Japan kicked off their own World War II where they invaded China years before a Pearl Harbor happened.
I do want to say that necessarily Pearl Harbor, well, not great, wasn't necessarily unwarranted.
Are you saying we deserve
I'll
it?
buy that take.
I'll
I'll buy that take.
I'll buy that take.
I'll fucking say it. Yeah, man. We were fucking around in
Oh,
that
we were just
area
fucking up with some
playing Empire,
Polynesian
but-
dynasty, and they were like,
Speaking of a Pearl Harbor and speaking of a nice little naval base somewhere secluded away, out in the way from everything, we need to talk about Port Arthur.
The Hawaii of China.
Because Port Arthur is...
that's my favorite Death Cab for Cutie album.
I'm sorry.
other than in Taiwan, Port Arthur nestles like a little Korea in Korea's armpit here.
I mean, yeah, it's very close. It's a hop, skip,
It's
and a
close.
jump to Korea.
You're close to the capital of China. You're close to any of the capital towns.
China.
You can be separate from what has been established as Korea.
Mhm.
This territory in Manchuria, leading all the way down from Siberia, all the way down to Port Arthur here, was occupied by the Russians through the Boxer Rebellion.
Okay.
They led a big force because they had just completed his Trans-Siberian Railroad, so they were able to bring forces
He also
from
had
Moscow.
just made his Trans-Siberian
ground
Orchestra.
forces. Yes, yeah, but they were able
Tsar Nicholas, correct?
Tsar Nicholas, yes. They were able to bring ground forces from Western Russia all the way to bumfuck out here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And managed to hold some ground and enough ground to
That's
where...
impressive.
to,
That's a lot of territory to cover.
that's a lot of ground
That's
to
a
cover.
lot of Russia.
That's a long trip.
I gotta say,
That's
boys.
When they
certainly
needed
further-
them, they showed up. And you know what? They did what they needed to do. They retook this... it's got a different name that I put a star over, but I can't read it. Before it was officially called Port Arthur. But they found an Oahu of Russia.
It looks. I mean, yeah.
You have a harbor, and
You
mind
joke,
you,
but it does. It
I've
does.
cropped this picture. It does not extend much further to the right of this.
Okay.
But it's a
You
nice
have
little Diamond Head
You have
Mountain
a
out there.
harbor that you can defend from the outside.
Yeah, it's
little
hilly
Fort
on
Casey?
either side too.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
a choke
you
point.
Have, you have hilly everywhere. You can safely nest some ships there. The Russian military decides that,
It's too good.
well, one, they're leasing this from China at the point. So they're giving money to China, and then China goes like, yeah, that's your land. You can do whatever you want. You can immigrate people out there. Cool, you're not the fucking Japanese, because putting you here creates a buffer space.
Yeah.
Between
You gotta
a
go through
Japanese
fucking
influenced
Russia.
Korea and us in our capital. It puts a buffer space.
Hey,
It's
I
not
mean,
a very good one.
You just used to have Korea between you and super aggressive Japan at this time. Now you have Korea and Russia between you and super aggressive Japan.
So Russia, trying to make a show of this, puts, let's say, 30 to 40% of their fleet at this point.
Their entire naval fleet?
At this
Sorry,
time,
really?
to have a Pacific fleet that's in, and it's we're gonna have a world map soon, so you can see how far south this is
Yeah.
compared to other Russian fleets on the Pacific coast. This is a warm water port.
Okay.
You can sail in and out any fucking time, baby. You aren't all the way north by Hokkaido, like on the Russian coast, where things can get a little dodgy a couple months out of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
yes.
and you're
October
very
through
out of the
March.
way.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is 1900. You don't have ships that can reliably break the ice on northern Russia and follow that coastline either. So this is a win for Russia.
Yeah.
Because
Boats are just starting to be made out of metal at this point.
Russia is entering, shall we say, the colonial game late, like a Japan is.
Yeah.
Or in America.
Japan, or in America.
Did America just invent like imperialism of this degree?
No.
No,
the Brits
that's
did that.
Well,
the Brits and the
But
Spaniards.
in the modern era,
We
in
just
the
learned
modern,
from our
and
colonial
Belgium.
yeah, we learned from you, Dad.
Yeah.
But in our modern era, I guess this is not the modern era. This
Well
is the 1900s.
connected.
We are still what, like 100 years
The old
after
world still exists.
revolution.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The Ottoman Empire
Yeah.
exists. Britain and France are the two most powerful, like, geopolitical states at this point in time.
A lot of Africa being owned by these two.
All
countries.
of it.
All of it. Oh, it's being cut up left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Even though physically border-wise connected with Russia,
Mm-hmm.
this can be effectively Port Arthur considered a Russian colony at this point.
Okay.
It's a town of a couple thousand. It's
Mm-hmm.
some outlying villages around the hills, but
Is there an indigenous population?
there
to
is
speak
of course an
Okay.
indigenous as you move.
And I imagine they're of Asian. They're not like
No.
Well, so are
You
the
have-
Russians probably.
You
this
have
part.
an indigenous mix of indigenous Siberian
Uh-huh.
people, indigenous of course Korean Peninsula, Chinese province, and
Interesting.
Manchurian people kind of mixing.
interesting.
You have such a melting pot of people.
You're at a four corners of Asia. Of Asian culture.
in the weirdest spot. Yeah, you are in a spot where you get a mixing pot of people.
And now you just get to call that Russia, which is like an interesting
Russia
understanding.
begins immediately making the Trans-Siberian Railroad connect to
Totally.
Port Arthur and these other places. They start immigrating people. Hey, here's a stipend. Move out east.
They got this property at the perfect time.
Yes.
Right? Because of the conflict that's happening.
Shit's free
and
real
it's like,
estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even just like
They kind of understand how
They're
good they got it.
favorably trading with both the Chinese and the Japanese
Uh-huh.
at this time, and and we'll count Korea in that Japanese side of that sort of a deal.
You better.
I mean, unfortunate for Korea.
Yeah.
They're trading with America too. I mean, we didn't have that bitter of relations with them at the time. We had pretty neutral.
No, but
But at this point, everybody was a shady dude doing a deal with another shady dude.
Absolutely.
at this point, they definitely favored the French, and they wanted to favor the Chinese, but being a European power
because of Indochina.
because
That
of
Indo from China?
pathways
Not
through
Indo.
Indochina, as well as French colonies in Africa,
Yeah.
where they were able to trade resources
Mm-hmm.
effectively, as ships made sort of a grand line
Uh-huh.
down and around Africa or through the Suez Canal and Egypt to the rest of the Eastern world, because your Panama Canal is kind of being worked on right now. And at the
In
same
early
time,
1900s?
We have a man and a plan. We don't quite have Panama yet.
Yeah.
like we have a man
Thank you.
digging something, but your other option is Atlantic for forever and
Yeah.
then sailing around towards Antarctica, which is
Wow.
never likely.
So going around
Rough as
the
hell.
Americas
Going
was
around-
faster to go through the Suez Canal and like go complete, or to go.
Well, that's also the route that's known. There's so many coastal towns throughout the entire thing where if you run into any situations where you need more fuel or you need more fuel, food,
or ladies,
men,
or
something, or fuck it, you gotta sell all the fucking shit that you have on your boat because you're done and you're going home. It gave you more options than doing the latter. Port Arthur is home to. It's got a full fucking admiral. They named some guy Admiral of the Pacific Fleet. They gave him a bunch of fucking boats. Mind you, they do have some boats north of this Korean coastline.
Peninsula.
But this Korean
Peninsula.
But you get up to a Russian port up here where they throw like a couple other boats just to, not hold your eggs in one basket.
Also, Russia owns Alaska at this point in time too, so they're like
They're sitting pretty.
They're hogs.
They're hitting
But
this
they
shit.
aren't.
They're hogs of shit country.
They
Yeah.
aren't focused, even at this time, which is weird, of making expanding trade ports into like we can hold our navy here.
Yeah.
Because again, it's so further north latitude, you're kind of away from everything you'd want your boats to get to anyway, as well as warm water and cold water ports. Like, why Russia didn't put one down at like the tip end of like Juneau?
Oh, yeah, because the shit sucks for like 6 months out of the year. I've been to Western Alaska. The shit fucking sucks even in the summer, where it's technically the ideal time to be sending boats out.
Oh, absolutely.
It still sucks ass.
So Port Arthur here, from 1901 to 1903, gets a boom in population, both indigenous, refugee, people moving out there to start a new life. It's kind of a frontier
Yeah.
for a very short amount of time.
We have the Wild East here.
Yeah, we kind of have new Russian land that, hey, come over, make a new life for yourself, make some money, help build the railroad, please, because we want...
Yeah. Because that'd be really, really chill
help
of you.
build, like, Russian naval base shit.
So Russia also exploited the Chinese.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just going to find the way to that joke. I was just going to find the way to that joke.
Everybody
sorry.
did. Everybody did it. In
This
that era.
gigantic world was built on the Chinese.
The whole Boxer Rebellion is because of that, in a way. So as we end 1903 and go to 1904, things aren't looking so hot at Port
Another
Arthur.
bitchin' photo, dude.
Always. That's this
Are all
whole-
the boats on fire, or are some of the boats just going...
Or some
in
firing.
this middle of this image, we see a couple of Russian boats.
Is that the Russian flag under Tsar Nicholas?
That is the Russian flag under Tsar Nicholas, or at least the Imperial Navy flag.
Sure, but still, I mean, not what
You
not
don't
what I know
expect-
now. But I'm also a dumbass from the year 2023, so 119
Oh, it looks
years
absolutely
before
foreign.
this.
Japan don't change a thing. They keep their flag for 50 fucking years, 45 fucking years.
When we were doing the red, white, and blue bit, we could have done Russian flag under.
That's
here,
true.
under-
That's true.
I tried to sneak one of those in. We're going to say things aren't looking so good. We got big Japanese boats. We got little torpedo boats and types of... We have early submarines at this point, but
Yeah,
I
the
do not have any pictures of early submarines nor paintings of...
Even as early as the American Revolutionary War in 1776,
Oh, yeah.
there has been submarine warfare with the turtle,
Yeah.
which was effectively like a barrel with a dude in it bicycling his way to hopefully get under a British ship to like screw into it and then shove gunpowder.
And if you
Well, you're-
remember back in Wild Wild West, the documentary of the post-Civil War,
I'm
they
Jim
had
West.
they had
Dr.
robotic
Lovelace
spiders.
did have like an aquatic tank.
An Ironside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was a
which-
boat too. There was
the boat.
There was
There's
an
the boat.
armored boat.
That is a
Yeah.
good representation, even though fantastical, of like an 1860s, 70s, 80s boat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because by 1904 they've
We
become
have
that-
steel.
like we've gone to the space age.
Well,
We've
with
gone to the
iron
sharp
boat.
corners
They're not
and
iron boats with-
hiding our welts.
sails anymore. They're iron boats with steam engines.
With steam engines, coal-powered steam engines, the
Little
whole
space
fucking
needles on
shebang.
top of them things.
And while we may not have what we would think of as modern submarines, even though some things are called submarines,
They're
If I hold
American
my
submarines
breath and I go
did-
underwater, I'm a
we
submarine.
have torpedo boats, which are very low to the ground. They shoot
Little
what
little
we would
pistols out.
imagine as a modern torpedo, but imagine the 1900s version of that.
a cannon that fires underwater.
A cannon that fires underwater.
So silly. So silly.
But they work. Port Arthur, in the early pre-dawn morning in February.
Pre-Red Dawn?
Pre-Red Dawn, 1904. 3 hours before it officially gets a declaration of war from Japan. Japan sends out a surprise force.
Oh, they're known for surprise forces.
That's the thing. This is so eerily Pearl Harbor.
A shinobi naval force is on its way.
They send out, while the rest of the armada is kind of in tow, small force of torpedo boats, small force of battleships to at least visually show were here. And in the middle of the night, managed to, I think, damage 2 or 3 of the cruisers in the bay. And then they start laying mines outside of the entrance to the port.
That's not great.
A siege has begun. This siege lasts all the way until 1905. It lasts effectively from February throughout the rest of the year. Until January. Many things happen during the siege. There are Japanese forces that take the land inland from Port Arthur. You have many... within a week or two of this Japanese initial surprise attack or whatever that kind of blockades this harbor, you have a lot of railroad, like the Trans-Siberian Railroad that they had put down to Port Arthur. You get lots of railroad bombings. You get lots of stations that troops posted up because they are expecting Russians to be coming any day now and start setting up encampments outside of where the railroad is going to be.
Wow.
Because that's the only way that they're going to get across the entire world to fight you.
At this time the world, railroads were an important resource.
Oh
for
yeah,
the military.
And if you could send a man from Russia all the way through bumfuck Siberia down to fucking Port Arthur in, let's say, 10 days, you're doing fucking good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to imagine how slow the world works at this point.
Think about how slow the world used to work even previously with boats were the fastest. They can go across the Delaware, to do the whole slaughtering at night thing. But
the telegram exists at this time.
Yeah.
It's new.
No.
Wireless communication exists at this time, radio, but it's very cutting edge at this point. Bleeding cutting edge to where you only have maybe wireless communications through major ships in a fleet that have to keep in communication that I'm 2 miles to your east, and that.
Where's the episode on that? How that lined up with warfare? The wireless. Oh yeah, is that in the bag?
It's almost like it kind of receives its solo. It gets the spotlight put on it in this. So we have the siege of Port Arthur. Things aren't looking too great. Immediately, you have Japanese forces from the north throwing up big ass 14-inch and 11-inch howitzers, which you put that even on a hill over the bay, these ships have nowhere to dodge. They are stuck in that small bay. So you have ships getting hit, ships catching fire. You have troops in the city that
your choices are run aground or run into a fucking minefield.
Yeah. There are many different things that happen over a few months. All the way up until April of 1904, you have a couple Great Escape style
schemes.
It's okay, we saw some ships earlier. We kind of have an idea of where they've laid mines. You and me, like 2 destroyers, destroyer battleship. We're gonna fucking break out of this. We're gonna see what happens. This kills an admiral who's running this fleet in April. This, I believe, is his boat being towed after it was hit by a mine. Because they decided to turn, left out of the harbor rather than going right.
Oh, wow.
And if I'm to believe this artist's depiction, it's the Japanese who have taken the Russian ship.
Yeah.
And are towing it. Although, wait, that
is a Japanese towing a Russian ship.
Is it Russian?
The flag is weird, but
that looks like a potential Union Jack and the English cross of St. Andrew.
It's
no. It's
no. It's definitely. I do lie a little bit on ship photos in here. I'm gonna say.
Right, fair enough.
But
sorry.
this one, I know is from the event of the admiral dying, and the Japanese are like, well. We know we've injured.
Seems I'll be taking this ship of y'all.
They hit a damn mine, and we're nearby. Yeah. We're gonna tow them back into port so that they can kind of regroup, what have you. Because we've declared war, but we're sieging these people.
There's a lot of use to that. I mean, Russia is also It's a massive nation with incredible natural resources, and around the same time as we were in America, Russia was also industrializing. So, a like behind the fucking eight ball country like Japan when it came to industrialization and modernization. I mean, there's a lot of value in getting access to like a military ship of your opponent.
Korea has tons of iron, tons of coal. Tons of natural
Lucky
resources.
Japan.
A lot of mountains and forests.
It's almost like, you industrialize first and then you mechanize second in a way where you gain those hey, 10 years from now I'm going to have a factory that refines ore from Korea. That's what we're going to build.
Yeah.
I mean, industrialization leads to imperialization. Once you've industrialized as a country, you realize that there's either resources that you have within your borders in too short a supply, or you just want to keep what's yours in the ground, and you want to take it from somewhere else.
So it's also worth noting, I added a slide in here late because it's fun.
Okay.
Because we are also talking about a lot of these ships that are in Port Arthur are prototypes, are
nice.
top of the line for the time. Now, mind you, this was made for wars 10 to 15 years ago. So these are fairly untested ships that are like, you have a technology plateau and you kind of have an arms race of big metal boat at the time. Because you've gone from your Wild Wild West ironclad boat to something that resembles what we would think as a battleship.
Okay.
The Japanese have better battleships.
Yeah, they do.
100%.
They got Hanzo steel, baby.
They have been doing both front and backdoor deals with the British, in the sense that they are getting like British prototype guns. They're getting things out of British shipyards.
That's so interesting because I could swear in about 30-ish years, they're gonna be like fighting against each other.
In a way, on different oceans, yes. But you also have a Chilean-Argentinian arms race for a navy at the time. I think both became independent around the same time and kind of started this weird little arms race that Britain went, ooh, I can make money off of. And a lot of the things that they didn't buy, Japan ended up getting and buying at a reduced price.
Nice.
So
you were my favorite.
You have two heavyweight boxers from different philosophies, two top of the line fleets in a way, kind of clashing. One just happens to be stuck in a harbor. And what would happen if, instead of turning left into the mines, you bring a bunch of boats out and you turn them right? You get the Battle of the Yellow Sea, where, of course, Japan is...
There are more boats on fire.
Japan has a shit ton of boats just waiting out of Port Arthur for any sort of stupid attempt for all the boats to come out. So they let them think that they got it for a bit.
Oh my gosh.
And then they hunt them.
They do the same thing to dolphins.
And whales.
And whales, yeah.
This is lots of paintings because, again, photography is early at this time.
Totally.
And it's also very hard to get photographs of this era in East Asia just because, yes, photography's been around for 30 years, but a lot of people who would have cameras and film and be...
The idea of documenting this is not... there yet.
Not on anybody's
documenting
radar.
war is not on the
This
radar.
is a colorized photograph, though, from this battle of Japanese ships in line.
I mean, look at the grain.
That is a hilarious move, though.
Look at the grain between like left screen top and like that. I mean, clearly drawing, painting, like.
Drawing,
clearly
painting.
A photograph that's been colorized.
It's actually Japanese lithograph, Russian depiction of... Oh, fuck!
The fucking of the Yellow Sea!
They're on to us! And then you have Japanese photo at the time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, also wasn't exposure times incredibly long?
Yeah,
Like,
no, you were thinking of seconds, possibly
Warfare.
even depending on the camera, you have a minute.
like when warfare is happening and battles are happening, things are moving very fast.
Yes.
And the idea of photography, at
Ish,
this
but
point in
boats are
time-
moving slow. Boats move slow. Gun move fast, boats move slow.
Boats rock, though. This photo of these boats has to be taken on another boat.
That's
In
rocking
this
in the
conflict,
same
that's
manner?
rocking as
Yeah.
well. So
to not get
props-
motion blur.
to not get motion blur, even
Severe
though this is
motion
a
blur.
colorized high-res photo of the time.
Dear
like,
listener, you're hearing me confirm these ideas with my two co-hosts who are good photographers. I don't know dick about fuck when it comes to photography.
oh yeah,
That's why you're hearing me ask questions and them going, yes.
how this photo exists in 1904 in somewhat quality that you could restore it to this, I have no idea.
That's like the World War II and HD shit that History Channel was
Yeah.
pushing 10 years ago. I mean,
Those
that's
look like
beautiful.
Mississippi River boats.
So it's worth noting, a few Japanese battleships and carriers and torpedo boats get damaged.
Aww.
Barely any get sunk. When it comes to your fleet that was in Port Arthur, you have about a 70% loss. A couple ships slip.
Are you talking about Russian?
The
Russians lost 70%.
The Russians lost 70%.
Japanese lost whatever.
Japanese-
amount. Very
Japan-
insignificant.
Japanese found holes in their boat. and
Yeah.
went, oh, that's cute.
That's cute.
So you have like a few remaining Russian ships. They herd them back into the harbor and start laying more mines.
Even closer.
Even closer, even more dense, in that sense of like, yeah, no, try to come out again. Like, well, you still have a dwindling Russian force that's stuck.
This is Japan saying.
and you're not getting more
stuck
boats.
all the way fucking.
Yeah.
You're past Korea at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you are so far stuck away from any help whatsoever. Like,
This is Japan welcoming Russia to the east.
Also, your
Yeah.
shipyards in that area are probably not making more boats because they fucked up the railway that gets the valuable resources that you need to build boats
mind you, you do
to
have
that peninsula.
You have a smaller force up here north of Hokkaido on the actual Russian coast, not the land that they released.
Yeah.
But you do have a smaller force that does, and I don't mean to oversell one side's victories in this conflict. But some Russian boats do offensive line laying. They learn this from the Japanese, immediately laying mines outside of some place they've trapped an enemy, you know. So they try like, okay, well, we'll lay mines where somebody would be if they decided to try to blockade this port, catches a few Japanese boats. You know, it's not all completely one-sided, but right now it's not looking too great. Japan has a few holes in their boats. The Pacific Fleet of Russia is trapped in a cove, essentially. 30% of their force. Like, this is a photo of, I believe, the few boats that came back. And as you can see, a lot of them aren't
All
looking...
6 of them.
They're not looking so straight up in the water.
Yeah.
Like these...
No, the one in the exact middle of the 6 boats, that one looks... one right.
Yeah.
That one looks like it's not doing great.
This one's not doing so great. This one looks like it should be normally above water, but things are getting a little high.
Things are
Yeah.
bad in the back of that boat.
Yeah. But we need to continue on beyond the Battle of the LOC because, mind you, this surprise attack in Siege, basically one surprise attack happened before a formal declaration of war or whatever. So Tsar Nicholas II, Tsar of Russia,
Preemptive
Okay.
strikes are a quintessential part of warfare.
he pissed.
Oh no!
He is so pissed.
Look
They
at that.
never
acreage.
did anything
He
to
is
his daddy like
so
that.
pissed that somehow some non-white, non-Christian people,
Uh huh.
You
not
should be
only
aware of like half of his country, but
yes, somehow not only trapped part of his fleet in a cove, but kicked their ass when they tried to escape.
Kick that motherfucking ass.
Now, the only thing is, your only other boats at this time, in 1904,
Oh my
are
gosh.
all the way fuck at the other Red Star. North of Estonia, Latvia.
Wow.
Your only other boats,
St. Petersburg?
your only place with battleships, destroyers, torpedo boats, boats that haul coal, hospital boats. Your only other place. This is what I mean about like Port Arthur being a colonial.
It's across the fucking planet.
Yeah. I had to zoom into
Eastern
the planet
hemisphere, but
just so
yeah.
we could see these and not be like, yeah, no, 2 red specks on the world map.
I mean, this is about as far apart in the Eastern Hemisphere as you can possibly
You
get.
can't send a fucking boat via train.
You could cut out
Though that
all.
was
Not with that
theorized.
attitude.
That was theorized. And then logistically they went, no, we cannot reassemble boats in the time that the giant ass Japanese armada of good boats would find out we're making boats and then blockade that like port and everything else.
Lay mines even closer to shore.
My God.
So your only feasible option.
I see this map has a both North and South Korea.
Yeah, no, this is a modern map. Just disregard the
Sure,
borders
sure.
on this map.
No, I'm sorry.
Your only possible option is to send ships from all the way fucking up here in St. Petersburg, all the way down to China to kick some ass.
To be honest, there
To
ain't,
put a boot up your ass, it's the Russian way.
Yeah.
there ain't a lot of water between St. Pete's and Port Arthur.
There's a whole lot of land between those two.
That's a dumb idea, right?
I
That's
mean,
totally a dumb idea.
That's ridiculous.
Ain't nobody's ever gonna do that idea. Well, I'd like to introduce to you
still halfway around the
National
world.
Lampoon's Russo-Japanese voice. I'd like you to just have Holiday Road in the back of your head.
I mean, I can see we've got a smiling Chevy and Igor, and Igor.
We get 3 cheeky breakies in Chevy Chase here. It's the dumbest idea ever. But here we are. It's the only
Holy shit. Holy shit. I was trying to imagine what it would look like. And then you bring me a map of what it exactly looks like.
Yeah, I had to.
There's
I
a
had to.
shortcut, but it's not really that much of a shortcut.
No. We will get to that once they get to the Morocco, Tangier, all that. Once they get in the
Welcome
entrance
to
of the
Tangier.
Mediterranean, only boats of a certain depth of their hull can make it through the Suez Canal.
Yep.
So your fleet is going to split. Spoiler alert.
Less wide than the Ever Given.
On the 7-fucking-month journey.
7 months to go knock on someone's door and say, "No, sir, that's my house."
Knock on somebody's door and shoot them. That's basically what you
my
hope
God.
to do.
You set out on 4/20 and you're not getting there till Thanksgiving.
Oh my goodness!
So-
Well, how did he find out about this? Like the railway
The
demolished?
railway was an even dumber idea, but Tsar Nicholas wants to kick some Asian ass.
Of course.
That's all he wants.
Most nations do.
He just wants to. So he gets this admiral, this gentleman right here, who's going to be observing our entire trip.
Oh yeah.
This is Admiral Mad Dog Rizhevensky.
Mad Dog.
He's called Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
Mad
It always
Dog.
comes back to the back
Like
of
the
future.
fortified wine.
Like the fortified wine, like the Yakuza villain. He's called a Mad Dog.
Like a.
But this guy is bright. He's smart. He's good enough.
He's potato headed.
God damn it, people like him. He's been through a couple of the earlier. He's had about 40, 50 years on a boat at this time.
Okay.
You know, in the
lot of
Russian
time on a
military. He's fought in some conflicts. He's fairly untested, though. Especially now that he's been given a lot of new toys. Because not only were all of our new toys in Port Arthur across the fucking world, we did have... Now, mind you, this is October. The Battle of the Yellow Sea happened about April, May.
Okay.
So you have Russia trying to plan, how are we going to send a boat? What do we send? Mad Dog over here comes up with the idea. Well, we got enough new boats. I don't like this idea. But we have a lot of old boats too. Like that you just want to decommission. This has turned into Little Giants. Like,
oh no.
You give
really?
me all your boats.
These
we
non-Toyota products are gonna
we can get
limp
there,
their way out there.
We can get there as soon as we can. Now, mind you, we've already declared war at this point, so very few neutral ports as part of like a Geneva Convention will be able to refuel us. But I got a couple ins with the French. I feel like I could strong arm some Frenchies.
I think I could make my way through France.
So we'll take some old boats. We'll shove them full of coal. And by shove them full, I mean coal is on top of the deck.
Wow.
Because a lot of these boats aren't meant to go further than the North Sea. And they have to go, and I've looked it up, 25,000 miles.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. That's a big trip.
I just drove 2,000. Gotta say, I'm exhausted.
It's a big trip.
His arms are tired, folks.
So Mad Dog gets his people together. Mm-hmm. He gets his boats together.
Uh-huh.
And when you say boats, are all of these made of metal, or
all of these are made of metal?
Okay, there are no wooden ships.
There are no wooden ships.
No Ninas. No Pintas.
No Santa Marias.
No, you have what would be considered in 1904 a modern fleet.
Okay.
Of and aging metal boats and modern.
I mean, Ironsides have existed for near half a century at this point, so I'm not surprised they're all made of metal. But when you said old boats, I did perk up of like, were there any old wooden ships?
Yeah.
No.
Wind powered?
I want to talk about where's that episode of the gap between wood boats and metal boats?
This would have been the battle that would have been like.
Well, I mean, the transitionary period is wood that's covered in metal.
Yeah.
Which is what the American Civil War Ironsides were like 50 years ago before this.
So, big send off.
Okay.
You're gonna go kick their ass.
We're smashing.
Hey yo!
Hey Mad Dog!
Mad Dog! Get on in here! Mad Dog!
Is this your Czar
This is my Czar Nicholas. Mad Dog! Get on in here! You gonna kick some ass over there in that Asian theater.
Cajun Czar Nicholas.
Cajun Czar Nicholas.
They all get on their boats.
Butter now.
They all get on their boats. Immediately, two boats collide with one another.
Let's go.
Benny
Good start.
Benny Hill theme initiates.
As boats are towing these out of like the sandbar that they've collided in on this big send-off.
Oh, okay.
They're not even to Sweden yet.
So now we have like at least 3 boats damaged right off the bat. 2 from getting stuck in the
But it's your worst
sandbar.
boats. It's your worst boats. So.
Well, you got like a fleet of like, I think it's 32 headed out right now.
That's a pretty small fleet.
Pretty small fleet compared to there's a fleet of 400 Toyotas I once heard about.
In Africa.
In Africa.
Well, I mean, like the
Japanese fleet is around 40 at this time, and they're going to send auxiliaries that will join up with them later.
Sure.
This is the big first wave. We're sending out an admiral, and
here's
our big fucking punch that's coming from 20,000 miles away. Here's our iron fist. Just you wait.
Let
Japan.
you know this is worth it.
You do bring up an interesting point. This is sort of when the reset switch on the Nintendo of Earth's history was flipped on naval warfare. Because, like, if you think about, like, even a few hundred years beforehand with, like, the British Navy and, like, the Spanish Armada, like, this is, like, hundreds, if not thousands of wooden ships.
Yeah.
But now a battleship has so greatly changed so quickly that, like, everyone basically was put on the same, like, even playing field for about, like, 15, 20 years at this point.
Hopefully at this time, because, again, this is a learning experience. You hadn't had... And here's a spoiler for you, boyos.
Uh-huh.
In this episode, we've already seen it. The Yellow Sea is the first time steel-clad battleships fought steel-clad battleships.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, even in the American Civil War with the Ironside.
This is also 1904, and it's easy to think about aircraft. You have no aircraft reconnaissance at this time.
You had no aircraft at this point.
You
this
had
is
no
still
aircraft.
Before the Wright brothers.
Yes.
And Kitty Hawk.
So you are pure naval fighting, where you are relying on what the furthest guy away from you in your fleet can see and report. Radio's new, so now that's a lot quicker.
Okay.
It's much faster than the telegraph. And it doesn't need a wire.
But you aren't flying 2,000 feet up looking down at the shapes in the water and can say, like, 3 boats are here, 2 boats are here, sort of a deal. I can't pronounce Mad Dog Russo-Japanese.
Okay.
His name is Russo-Japanese. That's like America Man.
Russo-Japanese.
Oh, well,
he's got one of those, like...
Ross.
He's got one of those, like, 4 syllable Russian names where it's like 3 Russian names just fucking suck. Like it's hard. It's hard. Thankfully, he's got the name Mad Dog. I wish I could include more about the Japanese admiral who's making all these swift moves of like, lure him away, get him back to the port. He's Admiral Togo, and I had hoped that maybe he had lasted until like
it's Emperor Tojo that was the commander in World War II, right? No relation. Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry.
No relation at all.
All right.
But poor Admiral Togo didn't make it to World War II, and if he probably did, he probably would have raised some hell. But as is, he's coming off of like 40 years of fighting Chinese boats and other like different conflicts, Boxer
looking
War.
For some Christians to kill.
If we're looking for like who our 2 boxers are in this ring, your Togo has a lot more experience, but your Togo is also backed by Japan, who is running their own wireless equipment at the time. They aren't leasing wireless equipment from other nations.
Wah, wah, wah.
You have different things going on. This is Mad Dog's best plan, though. We're gonna kick their ass. We're gonna kick their ass.
Coming over there to shove a boot.
In half a year,
25,000 miles away. We're gonna go. We're gonna split our fleets up. We're gonna look out for Japanese fucking torpedo boats because we're never getting surprised again. Fucking red and yellow. Go Russia.
And these motherfuckers think that it's in Western Europe and Northern Africa that they may run into Japanese torpedo boats.
That's the fun part of this. So, this journey, as I said, already started with 2 boats hitting one another. This journey really is beginning off on the wrong foot. We have Tsar Nicholas down here in the bottom right with his cousin, I believe George V from
Georgia,
from the King of Britain.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. I mean,
they are
royals.
almost identical twins. It's like you got you.
They're both white.
You got Ewan McGregor to play both roles in this film.
Yeah, that's how you cast it.
But yeah, starting off, things are not so great. I got a selection of what we have as Russian boats. This one down the bottom left is our fancy boat that our admiral will be on for the remaining of this film.
Which one's the Potemkin?
None of them are the Potemkin as far as I know. Things are going to get a little bit shaky because some of these are boats that are actually stuck in Port Arthur, but Russian boats all remain the same. I just wanted to include some of these bad
participation photos.
I mean, you said Russian battleships, and I said the only one I know. Potemkin.
Yeah, that's the only one anyone needs
Poughkeepsie.
to know. But as you can see, even without taking some hits, some of these bad boys are only about 4 feet off the water.
By design or by existence?
Design, and I assume I would hope more by existence than by design.
Yeah, it's a poor design.
Some of these are overloaded with coal as well, which raises their bow lower, which makes things harder when you're going through choppy waters. And I cannot, for the fucking life of me, think of choppier waters than trying to sail entirely down the Atlantic and around the fucking Cape of Africa.
To find out where the Atlantic meets Pacific.
This is a bit of a sarcastic answer. I can give you choppier waters. It's if you went the other way. If you went clockwise, if you decided to go up through the North Sea into the Arctic and back down
if
around.
you decided to break ice, and then
Not to say that that's not shitty, but
much funnier story if they decided to go north and then we're stuck.
If this was
for
the story
2
of them
years.
going home.
I'm just saying, in terms of choppier waters, they could have made a worse choice, but not much.
Not a whole lot.
Regardless, things are not off to a good start. They get through the Baltic Sea okay. There is a high warning. Highest warning you can give from boats to other boats. Mines?
Uh-huh.
Japanese torpedo boats. They're everywhere. Don't trust a single fucking thing.
Now, is this based in truth, or is this just like collective schizophrenia?
Mind you,
Yes.
you've had a collective schizophrenia mini 9/11 in the sense of like somehow
Port Arthur's
these
fault.
non-white people, these non-Christians,
Yes. I'm listening.
have blockaded our boats and then managed to absolutely whip us in Port Arthur. So you have a fear out.
So they're also
Don't
halfway around
take-
the world.
Don't take anything for doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what sea you're in. Watch out. Japanese torpedo boats, Japanese mines. So these boats are not traveling in a straight line.
Oh, no.
These boats are zigzagging every fucking where because
Why not?
somebody up front was, that's a place I'd place mines if I was a mine layer. Okay, we're not gonna go there. So they zig, they zag, they zig, they zag.
Do they lose
I
any
mean-
boats in this maneuver?
I assume some boats are lost in fog, but the point I'm trying to make is, I read a Wikipedia article that started with the sentence, after 9 days
Oh, no.
of navigating non-existent mines.
Oh, no. That's psychological warfare.
That's an image in my mind.
I mean,
and this is early. They haven't even gotten to Africa yet.
yeah.
They haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes. They are like
They haven't even
they are-
gotten to West Africa yet.
They can
No.
look east and see home.
Yeah.
I mean,
they
it-
are this worried.
At 9 days, you probably have just barely made the English Channel at this point.
You would hope if you were going straight,
I mean,
but
yeah,
you aren't.
You're making the most out of your mile. You're going zigzag.
it's easy to be critical, and this is stupid, and like based out of a dumb belief that the Japanese were already in those Western waters. But I mean, zigzagging is how boats avoided torpedoes.
Yes.
Like throughout, like the
absolutely.
next 50 years of history of naval warfare. So they're not necessarily wrong
They are wrong, but
in
they
the
are
methodology. They're wrong in like their intelligence.
they are like a safety Nazi at this time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're the
Hey,
most
we-
OSHA compliant.
Well, we have
naval force.
I would love to think that as they're rounding the Cape of Denmark, as they're getting around these non-existent mines, in the middle of the night, a ship approaches them
Oh fuck! Oh shit! Oh fuck!
out of the
Oh,
fog.
fuck. Oh, shit.
I
And I
believe,
just started blasting.
I believe a few Russian destroyers on the outside
No.
just start blasting.
So
and-
anyway, I started blasting.
and hit the Russian cruiser, the Aurora, which was on special mission from St. Petersburg to this fleet to promote the admiral.
Wait! Hold
somebody,
the fucking phone.
Somebody was getting a job promotion,
And they shot the boat that said it.
Now, mind you, I say shot. Apparently, 200 to 300
They boarded it and
shells
slaughtered them.
Are shot
No.
at this boat, and only minuscule damage is done to this boat. But still,
That's
damage.
technology.
I have a bit of a.
That's technology.
I have a
Yes.
bit of a stupid question.
Yeah.
What do you get promoted from admiral to?
I don't know.
I'm
Super
sorry.
admiral.
I knew that they might get that as a response.
I looked this up.
Cobra
And
Commander.
I was like, no. Out of all the shenanigans we're gonna get into in this episode,
Yeah.
this
is the one you're not gonna look up.
This is the fake one, or
Yeah.
the one I'm not gonna include. And it's like, oh no, it happened because the Aurora joins this fleet
No.
and will continue
with its
this,
bullet holes in it?
with its bullet holes in it.
This
will
was the
be
messenger
fixed.
boat that is
This-
now part of the fleet.
This
This
boat
is
will follow this fleet and
until
remain
the bottom of the
unsunk
Pacific.
at the end of the
It's
story.
like your boys
Wow.
are walking to the bar and you decide to join them like a quarter of the way through and they beat the living shit out of you.
Well, they saw you
And
going
you
down that
decide,
dark
like, yeah,
alley.
I'm still gonna go out
No,
drinking
no.
with you.
It's you and your 4 buddies throw somehow 500 punches and only 3 hit, and not that great.
And your friend was just there to tell you like good news.
Yeah, good news. I got the job.
So
You got the job.
You
It's
got
not
the
even
job.
that You got the job. It's that you got the job. And you kick his,
buddy,
you
He's
kick
like,
his
"Hey,
ass.
fuck you!"
And then he still goes out drinking with you and the rest of the boys.
So, this, under any normal circumstances, would be an audacious start.
Audacious.
To any trip. This would be the point where you maybe
I mean, I would say, should we turn around?
you're close. You can turn around.
Should we get on a train?
You aren't where the Red Star
Should
is.
we build a railroad instead?
We should just send the boats via train. You know, the era of Toyota happened late. There should have
Yeah.
been real.
They should have been
Japanese-
there in
Toyota was still
1900s.
making auto looms at this point. They had not. Kaiichiro was still just but a boy dreaming about what cars he was hearing about from the Western world.
So, we've had.
Daddy, tell me more about the Western world cars.
Mercedes and Ford.
Bavarian motor vehicles.
Four wheels and a grill as high as the sun.
As high as the sun.
So I don't know, gang.
But what if they want a third cylinder, Daddy?
That's what.
Too many.
That's what this is with battleships, where it's like.
Bourgeois
But
decadence.
Daddy, I have
But
two,
Daddy.
I have 2 15-inch guns. Okay, son, I love you enough to put 3 15-inch guns on the fancy white boat. We even put armor so it looks like swan wings.
It's
This
so
is-
beautiful, Daddy.
A bit unrelated, but this is also the year where Rasputin is putting like the hard fucking like
Oh, yeah.
grift on the Russian
Oh yeah,
royal
this
family
is
and dicking down the
pre-communist
Tsarina,
Russia.
right?
This is
Cool.
this is who the communists removed. That's this Russia.
This dude that
Fucked up a bunch.
fucking makes a
Hey,
someone
Zach.
go around the full continent of Africa to
Hey, Zach,
kick some ass.
Hey, maybe put a pin in that. Maybe put a pin.
I'll bring it up later.
Maybe
Yeah,
put a pin in that.
I'll think about it.
The people may not be stoked on the guy who was like, "Yeah, send boats halfway across the world."
Just go get them.
They haven't
Just go
even
kick
got
their butt.
Denmark.
Kick their asses halfway across the world.
So from Denmark, you obviously make your way through the North Sea, which is major fishing lanes.
Yeah, a lot of countries.
Oh,
fish
yeah.
A
there.
lot of countries.
All the Scandinavian ones, and the Danes, and the Germans, and the
Oh,
Prussians,
and
and the
the
Polish,
fucking-
and the British, and the Scottish, and
So-
Fucking got him. I think you
And
got
We're
him.
gonna
French.
say it's in the middle of the night.
Oh, golly.
in the middle of the night.
It's in the
I'm
middle
shooting
of the
other ships.
A low fog comes in over the waves. Suddenly, a Russian fucking battleship spots a 15-foot boat.
Oh no.
That's the size of
In
the
this
boat my
bottom
grandpa
right-
bought.
In this bottom right picture,
They're about to run it over.
they're not about to run it over.
They're about to shell the
No.
shit out of it.
That's a Japanese torpedo
That's
boat.
obvious.
Clearly.
Clearly.
That's a Japanese torpedo boat. So
What are you, blind? That's a Japanese torpedo
They're
boat.
full
So-
of dudes wearing yellow rain gear and pulling up nets.
That's what they want you to
I'm
think.
gonna play this story out of chronological order
Okay.
real quick. I'm gonna note This is the North Sea. Up here in the right picture, this is the North Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of north east of
Very
United Kingdom.
communal waters for Northern European like countries.
Oh, absolutely. And you've gone through the English Channel with other like this ship, because this is the speed of information.
This is the one that got the shit kicked out of it by its friends, right?
No.
The Aurora?
This fleet almost gets to Spain before they get a wireless communication that goes, "You fucking shot up 3 like British fishing boats." Like from France, like, hey, by the way, hey, we've been trying to reach you.
We fucking saw that, and it's not very cool.
So the aftermath of this, not only are 3 British fishing boats shot up, there is friendly fire from one Russian boat to many other Russian boats. That includes the Aurora, again, the one that was just trying to bring the good, happy...
They kicked its ass again?
They kicked its ass again. I clipped this from Wikipedia.
This is a terrible game of Battleship.
I clipped this from Wikipedia, and it says the Aurora, a Russian carrier, attacked by other Russian ships during the incident.
Wait. So on the way to the bar, after your friends beat your ass, and you decided to join them anyway...
Then you find some little kids hanging out on Side Street. You punch the shit out of them.
And then you still kick Steve's ass.
Somehow we still kick Steve.
Somehow
again.
We blame Steve for us doing that.
The best
still
part
on the way
about
to the
this,
party.
one, this information is devastating to Admiral Mad Dog. How the fuck are we supposed to go and kick these non-white, non-Christian asses?
They've made it maybe 6% of the way of their journey.
Jesus Christ!
And they've already started multiple international conflicts.
What is the difference between this and pirates? You know,
Britain is obviously escalating, thinking that this could be the start of an international conflict with Russia.
And I gotta say, as a Scottish descendant, if they were English, they fucking deserved it.
In the bottom left,
If they're Scottish, I don't know.
These are the fishing trawlers after they got back to port, and as you can see, Jeremiah whatever in 1904 wrote shot holes and pointed to holes that are on an engine piece.
Lord Chauncey Husenby.
Up in the upper right, these are other
some dudes.
Those are Brits.
These are other Brits who were on the
Yeah.
fishing boat to testify in a French international court.
Wow.
This is all happening. Like, we're still in, like, October, November,
Boats are still on the
1904.
water.
Boats are still on the water. Like,
No way due process is that fast.
An international incident has happened. So these are British fishermen on the boats testifying in France
about a Russian ship.
Hey, international courts should be a more standard thing. A Russian ship just came through and blew the fuck out of us. What is
Hey,
the
a bunch of
reason
Russian warships
for
came
doing
through
this?
and did a bunch of war crimes on us.
So,
Although,
I'm sorry, I've been war crimed.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say those are all predominantly English men, just kind of based by like the look of them,
by their hats.
except for the dude on the far right. That guy could be Scottish.
He's a little sad.
The other,
I don't know.
He looks
Johnny
a little
Big
sad.
Coats here. Johnny Big Coats could be from anywhere in time.
he might be Irish. But anyway, the rest of them are English, and they fucking deserved it.
Anywho, so met with an international incident. Mad Dog. Admiral Mad Dog.
MD
Admiral Mad
2020.
Very disappointed in his men. Stops at port at Vigo.
In Spain.
In Spain.
Yeah.
Fine.
Gets off, goes off to international court. The ship that lands at Vigo cuts the telegram cable between Africa and Europe at the time.
That's
On
not great.
porpoise?
on accident.
Okay.
This is a comedy of errors.
Okay.
With
of course.
what? With bolt cutters? With
No,
a sword? With a boat?
They dropped anchor
With their
and the
monster
anchor
dong.
cut it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Like, just add insult to injury.
Just a real fucking whole bouquet of whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
You drop
Yeah.
an anchor on the telecommunications line between
it's like crashing
two
your
continents.
car into the courthouse when you're delivering your friend to like get
When you're
off
no.
free.
It's like crashing your car into the courthouse when you're on trial for a DUI, and you've happened to have a few that morning.
Seriously.
So Admiral Mad Dog here is in international courts for a matter of time. This is upwards of 3 months.
I do have to say,
do the ships go on without him?
The ships go on without him, but are told to meet up in Madagascar, in which he will come, and then they will
Is
go.
that why they detoured, or is that
That is
you said something about the Suez Canal?
The
not
detour
fucking-
was kind of pre-planned as like, hey, our smaller ships
Yeah.
will go through the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
We
Save
have
face.
good relations in
Gamble in
Crete.
Madagascar.
You know, hey,
Yeah.
we can go to Crete
Yeah.
and
Go to Vegas a little
They're
bit.
not gonna tell nobody.
Yeah, they're
So
we can get
God.
as much spanakopita and fucking
and
booze as we
coal
want.
as we can load onto our small ships
Yeah.
and take them over the Suez Canal and meet up in Madagascar. Well, the big ships
have to go around the horn.
have to go around the
Oof.
horn and are also limited by what they have. So being in semi good relationship with France, going around the horn means harassing every French colony you come across.
Hey, give me the
Imagine-
gold,
imagine
buddy.
with some gold.
No, it's Tuesday morning at your normal job, and the battleship shows up. We want the
We
coal.
want the
Dos
gold.
Vidania, we require all of your coal.
Hello, I'm Igor. I demand coal. I could be loud like the other ones, but
Mother of France, Mother of Russia. We need her coal.
so it's an absolute shit show. This entire time, Admiral Mad Dog is on trial.
I mean,
He
props
takes-
to him for, like, I guess taking some level of accountability for the
showing up to
actions
court?
of-
This man is
forces-
accountability to an extreme.
Okay.
In a weird way that I haven't really seen too much in a figure that I've researched for something like this.
Okay.
Mad Dog takes full account. I'm so sorry if it helps. If it helps, I was the one that said go. You know, like go fire upon that vessel. Like I made that decision. They followed that decision. This is on me. International courts, whether or not that is what Mad Dog believed, or if that was just sort of
save
like,
face.
hey, I'm gonna take the bleeding heart so I can get my boats because I'm gonna put a boot up somebody's ass.
I'm still on a one-man mission to put a boot up somebody's ass.
So I'm gonna say what I have to. He gets off with like a $66,000 franc fine for the whole ordeal, mind you. While he's at courts, another Russian ship comes to port.
60,000 francs, though, had to be somewhat significant. I mean, the
Yeah.
franc had to be worth way more than the Russian ruble at the time.
I don't know. I didn't adjust it for inflation, but it's kind of the any article I read, like he got a light fine and kind of got sent on his way, sort of a deal.
I mean,
like,
yeah, 66,000. I mean, it's a big number, but not necessarily like empire to empire.
he wasn't facing like extradition to Russia, or
Was
like
it the fact that he
Good for
sunk a
him.
lot of British ships that the French let him off easy?
well,
Could be.
history could tell. This is a tumultuous time in history before everyone came together to be like, no, fuck the Germans.
Get the fuck out
I
of
mean,
here.
like in terms of like he sunk British ships and he went to court in France. These are two countries that have been at war with each
yeah.
other on and off for about 500
Well, here's the
years
thing.
at this point.
While he's in court, he gets word that a Russian ship that they thought they lost in the fog as they were going through the English Channel.
Yes,
Like, this
that
is the
happens.
thing. Like, he's already got off the boat.
Uh-huh.
He's going to court for shooting 3 British fishing ships, you know, or whatever.
Which, if they were English, fuck them.
and like Russian ship, hi, it's me, Floating Borovsky.
Yeah, it's Prispersky.
I've shot 3 Russian torpedo, or like 3 fucking Japanese torpedo boats. And it turns out that like a German, French, and a, I think Swedish, fishing vessels also got just attacked by one ship, just like lost.
Doing the Lord's work.
Do you know in which waters this occurred?
I believe this occurred like past the English Channel.
Okay, so still just like the northwestern coast of France, or like the northeastern coast of Spain. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. The French, not the French Riviera. That's to the south, but it, the northern.
But that is like, you just kick somebody's ass.
I mean, at least it wasn't the Aurora.
And then your friend shows up, like from.
Did you see how much I kicked this guy's ass, Eddie?
As you're talking to the police at the time.
Hey, I mean, it's market
Fuck
improvement.
that guy up back there.
Out of the 3 boats whose ass they kicked, not a single one was Russian, so that's an improvement.
And I don't think anybody died in that either. Like the 3 other nations of fishing vessels got hit, but like nobody got hurt. Like all fishing, like it was superficial damage. More on this later.
Okay.
So even if they're shooting first and asking questions later, yeah.
Classic.
Mad Dog in trial. Basically 3 months pass. The main fleet has met up with the reserve fleet, that kind of the smaller ships that came down through Egypt and all that with a bunch of coil. They all meet up in Madagascar.
Yeah, past Ethiopia, Somalia, and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. They all meet up in the tip of Madagascar at a port called Hellville. It sucks.
Okay.
That's what Charles Darwin decided to name it?
It's a French... it's like a French colony-ish, like, port town that basically somehow, even though sticking up different African nations of, like, French and Belgium and anything but the UK, like, because they don't want to dig themselves deeper, sort of a deal.
You don't want to pick shit with the biggest navy power in the world.
They kind of get pushed towards Hellville as like, this is where you're gonna refuel. Like, it's okay. Got word from the French. They're sending tons of fuel out to Hellville for you.
They got pounds of coal.
They got pounds of coal.
Oh, fat pounds.
So you wait there for 3 months. In 3 months, a lot of shit happens. A boat or 2 tries to mutiny. 1's successful. And is eventually a pirate vessel for Madagascaran and like Russian like people of this fleet.
God bless them.
You got along with their many like, hey, we're stopping at another port. We're gonna gamble and drink the fuck the night away. Like, see if we can get some coal. Cause
in Madagascar.
Well, along the western coast of Africa.
Okay.
They picked up tons of fucking animals on the boat to where, like, certain boats were described by some, like, Russians in letters as, like, oh, yeah, no, I go in there and it's just, like, it's all snakes.
Wild.
And just...
Igors and Sergeys just kept buying pet snakes with all of their, like, salary.
You start to have sort of, like, as this fleet moves on for this amount of time, you start to have some ships and, like, parts of them just abandoned because that's where people keep a fucking snake now, I guess. It turns into a whole fucking shindig where, like...
Yeah, I mean, the picture of a snake that you have in the upper right-hand corner there looks like a cobra of some sort.
Yeah, there were venomous snakes. There were people who died from venomous snake bites because somebody bought a venomous snake and now it's loose on a
on a
dog
boat.
ship.
Oh, God.
It's like the shitty roommate you have when
very
you're in your early
shitty.
20s.
Yeah.
Where, like, he just gets a venomous snake and now it's, like, everyone's fucking problem.
One of the big stories, though, one of the big things that fucking gives me a chuckle, like, yes, of course, lemurs, big ass bugs, snakes, whatever people are collecting along the way for like their trip.
That's a Madagascar hissing cockroach.
Yeah,
I'm thinking with a lemur. Oh my god.
A destroyer was like partially had to be evacuated because like all these animals bred, of course, like especially in port, like other animals to show up.
Yeah, that'll happen.
And then suddenly there's like 2 or 3 boa constrictors in a destroyer type ship. Like small. It was the kind of thing where like it's from somebody's writing where they're like had to abandon ship. Big snakes on this.
That's just ignorant European crackers at the time, not knowing that boa constrictors are the least worrisome of snakes. Like, as a guy who doesn't like snakes, boa constrictor not that big a deal.
No.
It'll wrap you up, but you got to stand still for a long time for that thing to fucking kill you. It's not venomous by any means, but I guess I can see why. Whereas the big snake would be super intimidating and cause you to be like, "Hey, let's get off this boat for a minute."
Well, it's also like you have this semi-crew of the damned who have already gone through, like, they're still going through that paranoia where they're zigzagging
They're
everywhere.
the veterans
They're
of several
checking
battles with fishing vessels at this point.
Is there any mines anywhere? Oh my god.
No. Once the telegram's cut, we don't hear about any other fishing vessels being attacked in Africa, which
You're just thinking
damn
Japanese
well
ships
fucking
around the
happen.
coast of Africa at that point. Everyone's Japanese when there's no telegrams.
They're killing everybody up to Hellville. And at this point, you have so much. They have a death by sea, like or like funeral burial at sea sort of deal where they'll send somebody off and they'll fire the ship's cannons. Those ship's cannons damage another ship in the fleet.
Oh wow!
Multiple ones.
What amateur hour?
Blunders. So many blunders in this thing. They in my bottom right image, I have a ship towing a target, and it's the sort of deal to train this era of Navy trainers to like hit the big piece of metal, not the boat pulling
it.
Okay.
I can tell you, there's
trust.
We see where it's going.
Yeah.
So, no, you know the punchline. Like, just play the fucking Jackass riff. Like, 0 hits were made on the target. 14 hits made on the boat. And sunk the
boat.
trading boat.
If you're gonna be dumb, then you gotta be tough.
It's chaos
Yeah.
for 3 months as they wait for their admiral to get out of court and get like more and more coal shoveled onto like the decks of these battleships and everything else. Things seem to be reaching some sort of impasse. At this point, we are almost in. I think we're in December or January 1905.
Okay.
So these boys have been on it, like, leaving Madagascar. Finally joined. Finally got their shit together. Mm-hmm. Like, okay.
Been at sea
here
for
we go.
5 months.
They're joined with, like, 30 more ships from, like, the Black Sea that somehow just are the unfortunate, like, extra boys that join along.
How'd they get there?
They had a smaller fleet there.
All right. I guess the Black Sea... through the Mediterranean?
It goes from like 38 ships in the fleet, give or take however many are wounded and nobody wants to admit it, to like 52. It's the Iron Fist gets a little bit bigger.
To be honest with you, I'm massively surprised that they somehow gained ships at this point in the process, as opposed to they had sunk like 30% of their own fucking fleet.
They tried so hardest. They tried their hardest to fucking sink their own fleet, but here we are. This battered
succeeding
and
in spite of themselves.
This battered and bruised cruise.
Switch. What is that bottom left?
The bottom left is a burial at sea.
Oh, okay.
It's
shroud the body.
It's
drop
actually
it
a
into the
lithograph
ocean.
of American burial at sea during the Spanish-American War, which happened around this time.
It's what we did to Osama bin Laden.
I couldn't find a Russian one, so
Well,
I gotta tell you how I cheated. But meanwhile, while all this is going on,
Back in
all
China.
all these fucking shenanigans. What the fuck's happening at Port Arthur?
Hey, what's going on in Port Arthur?
Shit's fucked.
Oh, no shit. No shit.
Shit's absolutely fucked. There are so many Japanese advancements into the peninsula
Oof.
that take out railroads that repeatedly cause Russians to retreat. This is a Russian retreat down in the bottom right-hand corner. There's many different land battles, what the fuck have you, between Russia and Japanese
Yeah, I'm sure
forces.
the Japanese got
It's
bored.
proto World War I stuff where you still have people like in firing lines, like no trenches yet. Like they're getting there,
But
like
they're still just showing up and shooting.
they're showing up in lines and like shooting.
Maxim guns are in pretty short supply,
it's
particularly on the
massacres
eastern
on both
front.
sides. Like it's absolute terrible, absolute horrible shit. We see in the upper right hand corner, this is a Japanese howitzer flying, and I love this picture. I saw this picture before I even knew what the Russo-Japanese war even fucking was, just because I thought it was cool that you could always see the little projectile that's being shot out.
Looks like Old Faithful.
It looks
Yeah.
it looks great in HD, but you can see that little 14-inch fucking projectile as it's rocking it out. And you know, this is
Alright.
where camera technology is at. This is
Okay.
as high speed as we can go.
It's pretty good.
I mean,
Yeah.
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 Comparatively what photography was even like a decade before this is a monumental leap
Yeah.
to be able to capture something like this image with no motion blur.
But yeah, we effectively get a Russian land surrender.
Oh?
Port Arthur falls. Eventually, the Japanese give up of having wounded boats in that harbor and have encroached enough to where they're not really fighting the people like the Russian soldiers in the streets of Port Arthur anymore. As few streets as there were. They're just bombarding it. They're just putting up encampments and firing artillery down into the cove to just destroy these ships. Fuck them. Don't need them anymore.
Docks.
Absolutely fuck them.
Shipyards.
You have a lot of Russian retreats, Russian surrenders at this time, and Admiral Mad Dog finds this out in a loosely legal by international terms, but let the boys drink and gamble on our fucking boats. They tried to be pirates, and we finally got rid of all the snakes. That's right off the coast of Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
when
all
that's
right.
when good old Admiral Mad Dog found out. A month away from being at Port Arthur. Hey,
Give it to him.
Tsar Nicholas is even like, hey, the Japanese have reached out to us for like peace agreements. We're not agreeing to them. Go kick their ass.
Hell
No
yeah.
Shit.
Hell
Go
yeah.
Fucking
Go
hell
ride
yeah.
that
Go-
train, baby.
Go fucking and you have Admiral Mad Dog in a precarious position because he doubts himself in like writings at
Really?
this time. Yeah. In the sense of he knows the Japanese Navy out there has more ships than him, knows
Home
the
field
lay of the
advantage.
land,
Yeah.
is probably actually setting mines and torpedo boats
Most
around.
likely.
And we haven't had a whole lot of luck out of things that weren't real torpedo boats of like sinking them.
Things have gone pretty dicey in our fights with fishing vessels. Now we're about to face a navy.
But he goes forward with it anyway.
So he's a month away.
He's a month away. And it's the kind of thing where, you know, maybe things are looking up for Admiral Mad Dog.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Maybe.
No, two shits, two fuck.
Oh no.
We get the Battle of the Tsushima Strait, which is in between Korea and
Let me
Japan.
let me guess. There was a bunch of ghosts.
Wow.
There were no ghosts of Tsushima.
Well, lucky them.
Well, the Yellow Sea was the first naval battle that, incorporated battleships on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of firepower exchanged in this battle is something that is, I believe, not matched navally until World War II.
Yeah, fair enough. There wasn't a shitload of battles, naval battles in World War One.
There were a few.
Shit was mostly in the trenches.
There were few and sparse, but
Yeah.
this is if you're somebody like me and you like the idea of like Star Wars capital ships just fucking duking out with each other.
Star Destroyer.
This is it. This is the real world. This is the rubber meets the road. You have two big iron fists of a fleet. Neither of them know where the other is. Neither of them can, like, other than what they can see and maybe while they've stopped in port, what they've heard, like they're scanning. Radar doesn't exist.
Which
Aerial
is what radio, like
reconnaissance-
maybe a fishing vessel has seen a Russian ship moving into your waters, and so you're vaguely aware
and
of
it's
its
so
location.
hard to hide these because they're blowing fucking coal.
Yeah.
Like,
creating
it's
smoke.
They're rolling coal.
But both of them are semi-equal size, and here you have your fucking Dan Carlin RPG aspect of it, of like, I guess it's a roll of the dice between either one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
As they kind of scope each other out around the strait between, I think it's Strait of Korea, like
Strait of
which
Fuga, yeah.
Tsushima Island resides
yeah.
in. It's a very narrow piece of land. As they're kind of scoping each other out, like night falls, a little fog
best time
rolling
to
on
do
the way.
surveillance.
Ain't nothing bad ever happened when
Ain't nothing ever happened.
Ain't
That
bad.
At sea in the fog at night.
Ain't nothing ever bad happened.
Not a thing.
Nothing.
So, by maritime law, hospital ships could at this time have their lights on and be known and protected. Whatever.
You're trying to broadcast to anyone and everyone, like, hey man, we don't have guns. We're just trying to pick people out of the sea and keep them alive.
We're a
Which
peaceful
even then,
vessel.
not a part of the Geneva Convention until after this.
Was the Geneva Convention even something that existed at this
There
point in
were
time?
there was
No.
apparently a second. I did not look into this. I should have, but a second Geneva Convention after the Russo-Japanese War that then had to be like, hey, we're gonna totally include if you're a boat, doesn't matter what side. If somebody's shipwrecked, you pick them up, whether they're a prisoner of war or whether they're on your side. You pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah, you keep them alive long enough to become political fodder.
Yeah.
Or
But
POW.
those rules aren't
Yeah.
in place now, which
They're
is
not.
also the reasoning behind we're gonna shoot some British fishing boats and just fucking keep on going, baby. Battle of Tsushima sucked. So you have the hospital ship with the lights on. Only ship out there.
Sure.
It's night.
It's very visible.
The fog.
It's just night.
You know how it is. You know how
The
it is.
fog's coming in. It's whatever.
This hospital ship sees a boat. No lights on like the rest of them.
Oh no.
Ain't nothing's up with that.
Dana.
So, wireless communication. This hospital boat goes, so this is the hospital boat floating Peroski. You must be right next to X boat, Y boat, Z boat. Yeah, no, you should be at least northward of Big Boy Battleship,
Yeah.
the
hey,
Adidas
friend.
squatting battleship, vodka drinker, destroyer, Pierogi Boy 69, you're-
Okay.
Oh, obviously, who are you? Other boat doesn't answer.
Nice.
Other boat slips into the night going, oh, fuck. They gave it all away.
Literally everything.
Literally everything. What they got, where they're at.
God damn, the things I'd do for a pierogi and some hot sauce right now.
Oh, I would do so many bad things for pierogi. Oh.
War crimes for
War crimes for pierogi. For sure.
I'd commit another night.
I'd blow up a hospital ship.
I might find myself in another JFK assassination for a pierogi.
It's just more funny than casual. Yeah. Battle of Tsushima fucking sucks.
Yeah, the Japanese now have the advantage of intelligence on their side by being radioed
Mind
their
you,
enemy position.
The whole Russian fleet this entire time, they're setting up mines in defensive kind of areas of like, oh, if we maybe meet them, we do a feint and we know where our mines are and we'll set up some traps. And
You basically like rush around back to the fort and then hopefully the enemies will go through the minefield and diminish.
Or you basically you pull a U-turn with your entire fleet and you're like, well, maybe we'll take some hits, but maybe they'll chase us because they totally chased us back to port. You know,
it's a real Kevin.
They're trying to learn.
It's a real Kevin McAllister tactic of warfare where you antagonize the combination.
and then draw them into the micro machines you've left at the bottom of the stairs,
along with the tar and the swinging paint cans and the blowtorches. Yeah.
So Russia's really fucking shooting for the fucking moon.
They want a W so bad. They've been taking so many self L's and regular L's.
So far to kick ass. This is a painting representing this battle, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was a photograph.
No. I'm
Was it sunk by 2 Japanese whaling ships?
It's.
Did they think it was a dolphin and viciously murdered it?
They harpooned it.
There are many factors that come into play. I know. My eyes gloss over when you talk about cards, Taylor. I'll be honest.
Fair enough.
I could talk about specs and numbers and everything else that these warships have, and why maybe one side came up over the other without being like, it was guts. It was like, oh, they had the initiative or whatever. Purely Japanese battleships, especially the ones they procured from whatever British shipyards, especially different types of cannons that were effectively prototypes for things that were going to be, on the next line of British ships, once improved again. But they kind of, you're looking at factors of who has better armor. Japan's Navy at the time. Who has more experience at the time? Both admiral and the people running the ship. You have, especially in these waters, Japan again. Who has better ammo that they're firing? Russians are firing something that's effectively like a harder flak shot as well as some explosive shell, and you have Japan basically firing an explosive shell that is so volatile that it will also explode when it hits the water by a boat, which could send fragments where, as well as like
capsize you.
It could hit. Well, it also like it didn't need to be a direct hit for it just to be like, oh, we're lighting the deck of your ship on fire. When it, a bunch of coal there as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of mitigating factors.
Do not need to be on fire. Bottom of the ocean.
A common theme. Their boats are on fire. Because they put flammables everywhere around their boats.
And boats in and of themselves are inherently flammable.
Up top left here, this is Admiral Togo. Painted.
Oh, it's not a Western depiction of Russian naval forces?
It's a Western depiction of Japanese naval forces.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's why I was at least somewhat bamboozled, at least by the art style, because it's so distinctive between Western and Eastern artistic representations at the time.
But yeah, it's as up to, I know your eyes can gloss over about military battles and this bullshit.
Yes.
3 Japanese torpedo boats were damaged. Upwards like 16 battleships,
of
cruisers,
the 52,
like light cruisers, like coal ships, like we're talking
ships.
like 60% of Russian army just decimated overnight.
And they just got to the party.
Your Admiral Mad Dog is injured but alive, but he is hit by shrapnel and things aren't looking too hot.
Wow, okay.
Your Admiral Togo is also injured, but okay. Almost every ship has some minor form of damage. The only ones that were taken out of commission were 3 Japanese torpedo boats, which is just about nothing. Like, it's a one-sided fight. Yeah, Russia came in with like, I'm coming for you. Just
I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna get you. 7 months from now, I'm gonna get you.
I'm
and
running.
they came up for the punch and just whiffed it.
They ran across the whole playground in a wind up to the punch and fucking went wide left.
A surrender of the Russian Navy happens from somebody under a Mad Dog admiral as he's out.
Really?
Yes, as the legend goes.
Did he just fucking like shoot himself in the head
So
in 1905?
So we have shit's fuck Tokyo Drift 1905. The war's finally over. The peace treaty is signed in fucking Portsmouth at the time, New Hampshire. It now exists in Maryland at this time.
What?
With Theodore Roosevelt overseeing it.
Oh, yeah.
America decides to step in. Hey, we're gonna be a diplomatic mediary here.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't fucking around in those general waters at that time.
But they step in, they mediate basically a Russian loss and a peace that would last 30 years. Which from this time you could see would be 1935, which, I mean...
Well, that's a big kind of era
Things are kicking off.
Some stuff's about to happen.
A lot of history could happen during that time, but
Poland is too
a lot of
maybe
history could
invaded.
happen after that time.
Yeah, you know,
none of this matters.
A lot of history has happened up until that time.
Also, is that Admiral?
Oh yes,
Mad Dog.
This is Mad Dog in bed. He's in bed at his at some hospital for his injuries.
in Japan.
And he's in a European hospital, and the ultimate thing is Togo does a victory tour. Admiral Togo does like a victory tour around the world where he's put on Time fucking magazine,
I love it.
he's the best general that's ever
He's the
general.
coolest of the
Japan,
cool.
a navy on the move.
He's the best admiral. He's the most decorated admiral that will ever be decorated ever. Said Wikipedia.
And he got his ass whooped.
Well, no.
No.
Mad
Togo.
Dog got nothing.
Oh.
Mad Dog just got a bump on the head. He's the one in bed.
Yeah, in this very early anime that has Thomas the Tank Engine, a howitzer gun, a cracking nuclear power plant silo, a power pole, a boat, and a boxing ring or watermelon, all on crutches, as the ghosts of wartime, past, present, and future, haunting his dreams by the looks of it.
Wow.
The first anime, ladies and gentlemen.
That's very, yeah. This is like a 1906 perfect anime.
It's manga at that point.
Yeah,
They haven't
yeah.
quite invented anime,
Yeah.
but this will be adapted into One Piece.
But Togo had words. He went all the way to Europe to a fucking St. Petersburg.
It's a long trip, a long shameful trip back home.
Yeah, but easier on train than it was probably by boat.
Fair enough. Didn't have to go stop an international criminal court on the way there.
No.
It really saves you a bunch of time.
But at the same time, he visited Mad Dog while he was at a Russian hospital, and he gave him these words: "Defeat is a common fate of a soldier. There is nothing to be ashamed of it. The great point is whether we have performed our duty." Which I feel like is really just rubbing fucking mud in the wound.
Yeah, but in the most
in
diplomatic
the most,
way
in the
possible.
most polite way possible.
It's the most humble flex that
It's
this
a
admiral
good
could
game.
have done.
It's a good game against people who were commanding thousands of people to go and die.
Yeah.
But it's a weird good game between two people that
I mean, it's the guy who had every strategic advantage available at his position, offering a great game to the guy who had every strategic disadvantage piled against him.
Yeah.
But then they mocked him with that manga. That is a depressed looking.
Unfortunately, this is not Mad Dog. This is Tsar Nicholas II. Because you have to remember in 1905, before the Bolshevik Revolution in
several
1917,
years.
there was a 1905 revolution because Russia got its ass kicked so fucking bad that people went. Mm-mm.
I don't like Russia anymore.
I don't trust this anymore. And it was a major blow to Tsar Nicholas, and one that he would never recover from, especially from World War I, which only happens 10 years after this.
Yeah.
Like you have to remember, like everything's happening so quick, decade by decade by decade here. It affects so much shit. Mad Dog here, unfortunately, he does what he did at court when he shot the fishermen's boats. He goes, put me on the stand. I will take full responsibility for the Russian Navy's failure in this sort of a deal.
Wait, so he has to go to Russian court after
He has to go to
this?
Russian court after all
Wow.
this. And apparently a lot of whatever stipends at during the Treaty of this war or whatever, like a lot of the I don't know why they weren't tried in like an international law, but like the admirals, the Russian admirals in the Russian Navy were all basically going to go up on trial and basically be sentenced to death.
Really?
For failure of
Nicholas Tsar II, you didn't complete the mission, sort of a deal.
Wow.
And he of course, wink wink, because here's how chivalrous shit worked at the time. Like, no, I'll let you go, but we're gonna sentence you to death, and we're gonna do the whole show thing. And he does. Like, Mad Dog takes the responsibility. He gets the sentence to death. He gets let go. Dies 4 years later of a heart attack, apparently never leaving his house for 4 years.
Wow.
He just basically got sent off to like whatever Russian village he had originated from in exile.
Or just given an apartment and just sort of like, nah, you stay here.
Yeah.
But, so Mad Dog's story kind of ends in a sad note. Togo does his world tour. And one of the
Victory Lap.
The Victory Lap. And one of the boats that doesn't sink during the Battle of Tsushima, the boat that was shot at going around the Denmark Strait, the Aurora, a Russian cruiser that held
the little ship that could.
The little ship that could. That's
got its ass kicked twice by its own buddies.
It's had a little bit of friendly fire. It's been in a couple different fights, like real
it dealt
and
with a
imaginary.
snake infestation.
I think it had a priest and a sailor that died also when the British fishing boats died. So it was like a 1-to-1 kill, sort of a deal where, 2 sailors and like a priest. Some Orthodox priest died. Also, bad luck, cursed boats. But the Aurora is on the medal of the October Revolution. Because the Aurora is what signaled like the first shots that like the military was behind the revolution taking place in 1917.
Interesting. So this was amongst the sailors. To bring things to an earlier question I had asked of like which one's the Potemkin, Like the military veterans of several shitty fucking wars for like the Russian serfs who make up the people who go and fight the wars, who inevitably decided because the borscht is bad, like that's it. No more fucking royals.
Yeah. So that brings us around to, I don't know. It was a wild, wacky adventure. It's one of those weird little niches of history where you kind of go like, wait, what? Like,
there's nothing like a 7-month boat trip where you inevitably take an L to radicalize you against the monarchy-style government that sent you on that journey.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool episode.
It's also one of those only things that, like, hey, if I had to give an elevator pitch, what historical event could you make into a movie? And it's like, this is something if you make it into just a comedy of errors.
Mm-hmm. If it was like a John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell show.
To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised this wasn't like an Akira Kurosawa film about like
the
craftiness and ingenuity of the Japanese Navy at the time.
Oh, you have multiple films from 60s to 70s, 80s that are just kind of like the...
Hey, you know,
they came here to kick our ass.
You know those people who are one of the 2 global superpowers who hold the whole fucking fate of the world in their palms of their hands?
That's the big thing.
We kicked the living shit out of one of them less than 100 years ago.
It established Japan on the world stage as a world power.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the kind of thing where a European power hadn't faced anything from a non-white, non-Christian power.
Western.
Especially Western, but like they just hadn't faced anything like that and lost to that extent, which sent ramifications around the world. I mean, you have Russia immediately going like, we don't care what happens. And
go ahead and fight over there, whatever.
whatever. We're not fucking involved in this. See you in 30 years. So you get a shift to the west for Russia. You get a like protector of like the Slavs kind of like ideology, which then leads you into forming your harsh alliances that bring something like World War I to be. Like you have so many different, I mean, all history is precedent. Of course, like, I mean, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I like peeling back and seeing what dominoes fell before the dominoes I know. And that's where I found shit like the Russo-Japanese War.